It's a story that has gone global and from which virtually no one emerges with any credit, with the extraordinary and the sometimes inexorably pitiful exception of his remarkable parents. It would seem just about everyone else involved with Charlie Gard has failed to deliver. Why did the world-renowned and quite brilliant Great Ormond Street Hospital seem to lose the trust of the parents and of most of the observers and hire a legal team that was described by one seasoned newspaper correspondent as, quotes, unnecessarily confrontational when they confronted the mother in court? What drove the American doctor who promised so much and yet delivered so little to act in the way he did? In court, the hospital claimed he hadn't fully read the case notes for weeks and had a financial interest in the drug he appeared to be peddling. When was it ever deemed right that a clearly distraught father and mother had to perform in front of camera and in court in this way? The warrior, Charlie Gard, is unlikely to be alive to see his birthday next Friday. How about his legacy is that any future case like this is handled far, far more considerately?
Nick, I've got to do this because it was mentioned in your opening. This is a quote from Dr. Michio Hirano. Yep. He says, "As I disclosed in court on July the 13th, I have relinquished and have no financial interest in the treatment being developed for Charlie's condition. Unfortunately, an MRI scan of Charlie's muscle tissue conducted in the past week has revealed that it's very unlikely that he would benefit from this treatment."
Yeah. Of course. I'm glad you got that out there.
Yeah, no,
but to the central point, it seems to me no one emerges with any credit apart from mum and dad.
And you're totally right, and I agree with everything you said. The American doctor, who I heard an interview with last week, screaming and shouting on the phone, saying Charlie would have been riding around on a bike by now. I mean, that's terrible for the parents to hear, because he doesn't know that for sure. And, you know, that reverend who came over, remember him shouting his head off and whatever. None of them, and even the people outside the court shouting and screaming, have not done his parents any favours at all. But where I kind of might disagree with, but, you know, there was the story this week, should he be allowed to die at home? And then I read that the hospital had said that they couldn't get the ventilator through the front door. My first reaction is, well, you know, knock the bloody door down.
I know. You'd
and
have builders
it
round in half an hour to put it back up.
However, what I don't know, and what many of us don't know, is so if Charlie came home with a ventilator, how is it going to be removed? What process is it going to take? And when it is removed, is he going to have convulsions? Is he going to be in distress? Is there going to be any pain? And while I don't know much, the one thing I do know is that this little baby has to have a good death. He has to slip away painlessly and peacefully, and we don't know whether that would be possible if he was at home, and that's the only thing that matters.
Greg, you've been in and around newsrooms and journalism even longer than I have. You will absolutely balk at the idea of holding meetings in camera or private sessions. Is there an argument that all of this, we should never have known any of this? It shouldn't have been an open court. It should have been in a closed family session, and then at the social media, and as Carol rightly says, almost the witch hunt that started issuing death threats to Great Ormond Street. Greg, that would never have happened.
No, I think there's an argument for that. I think you're right. I think this... I mean, I have my concerns about the American doctor, because it does seem to me that, you know, he's got some ideas about something that might just... Actually, I don't think anyone believes that treatment would have saved his child. And I've not seen any evidence that suggested... Well, you understand Mum and Dad, but those of us who are parents, you know that. No, you know you would do everything you could
trade a limb
to hang on to the life of your child.
It has to be said that American doctor, when he said in court, he actually said this in court. He said that he believed he could have helped Charlie. He said that without ever having seen his brain scans, without ever having seen.
So should it be held in camp? Should it be held in private?
You know, in this case, but the danger of that, Nick, is that the establishment plays dirty tricks sometimes. They keep things from us that we ought to know, and we've seen it many times in child cases, child abuse cases, that we don't know the truth. And that's not that this is that, but you know, that's the danger of it. You know, you hide one thing, you hide other stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
But the thing about...
But we do certain things in camera, don't we, for that very reason.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tend to agree with you that in this case, what was the upside of this being in the public arena?
There's no upside. Well, for the life of me, I can't see an upside. June?
Nick, I agree with you. The parents are the only ones that came across properly here, and then we have a clip of them.
Oh, right.
The American and Italian team were still willing to treat Charlie after seeing both his recent brain MRI and EEG performed last week. But there is one simple reason why treatment cannot now go ahead, and that is time. A whole lot of time has been wasted. We are now in July, and our poor boy has been left to just lie in hospital for months without any treatment whilst lengthy court battles have been fought. Tragically, having had Charlie's medical notes reviewed by independent experts, we now know, had Charlie been given the treatment sooner, he would have had the potential to be a normal, healthy little boy.
I mean, for me, I've always felt that the decision should have been given to the parents. That's what I felt.
The decision as regards treatment?
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, I understand and completely sympathise with them in what they're saying there, but nobody does know whether or not that treatment would have worked. But I've never understood why they weren't allowed to try. No. I never got that.
And doctors are brilliant, and there will be people watching this whose children's lives and whose lives have been saved by Great Ormond Street. But like the case of Aisha King down in Southampton, who they were runaways, they were fugitives on the run, and the little boy survived.
Fine, yeah.
Sure.
I just think it's really sad, and I think you can't watch that clip of that statement and the parents and imagine what they must be going through. It must be so horrible. And I always found it quite surprising that there was no legal aid made available to the parents to try and fight this case and help them. And I don't know why was the decision made to hold all of this in public? Do you know, in the courts? Was that just because,
Because it wasn't done under a family order, so simple as that. That's why. And then also, and I was going to bring you in this on as well. So that's then, and then you had the extraordinary role that social media played in this story, which, and I mean, I wouldn't want to be in Judge Francis. He's the judge who has to make decisions. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes for all the whatever in China. But I think at times he perhaps needed to be more direct with some of his judgments and his views. But where I absolutely agree with him, he said that the social media has been, he would put it fine, disaster in this case with uninformed people.
The treatment of the hospital by some members of the public has been disgraceful.
I mean, you do feel, don't you, that some sort of mediation, a closer discussion between all those involved might have helped.
But they couldn't even mediate over where the lad was to go, could they?
No, the parents didn't want that. But you know, I think the lifelong burden that these parents have to bear now, because they always believed that this drug would help them. You know, it's hard enough to cope with the death of a child when you know everything has been done. When you believe it hasn't been done, it's impossible to come to terms with it.
And when the decision was taken out of your hands. I just didn't get it. I still don't get it now.
Because I think what the courts have said all the way along, hasn't it? Everything that has been done and everything that will be done is about this baby. It's not about what the parents feel, although, you know, many argue it should be, but it's about what's best for Charlie. And I think this, Mr. Justice Francis has said it's
desperately sad.
Well, let's